Hey y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. I'm painting my nails, but I wanted to get on here because I've been talking about this for a long time and then I was gone. Anyway, this is Decolonizing Consumerism, and today we're going to be talking about resource extraction. Now, as you know, I have no notes. I am going off of the whim of my mind, which can be crazy. Not like in a bad way. I mean, well, yeah, that too. But anyway, expansive is a better word. So, let's go ahead and talk about resource extraction, and then ironically, I will be doing an unschooling haul after that, where I will be sharing products. Anyway, let's take a deep breath. The earth is alive, and the earth has everything that we need. Now, what humans have done is they have taken initiative to, not like you and me, humans, necessarily. We are obligated to participate in this shit. But everything in moderation, right? So, last time we had a Decolonizing Consumerism, we talked about constant war. And resource extraction and constant war go hand in hand, obviously, as you can see right now. Now, I think another thing to talk about, well, we'll get there. Resource extraction is, okay, so you guys remember the slogan back in the 90s for Fruit of the Loom? And it was cotton, the fabric of our lives. We're going to start with that. So think about cotton and think about the subliminal messaging around cotton of our lives. It is a what's the word? It is a connector to slavery. Okay. But resource extraction is often something that is done by the elite, obviously, and uses unethical means to extract, not only for the planet, right? As I first stated, the planet is alive. Everything that we need is provided for us. Capitalists have gone in and turned it into an entire system that goes against the natural ways of life for humans, for living beings, for the earth itself, and constant war, right? So, on the topic of oil, as we know now, oil is the big ticket item at this moment, and it's a reason for war at this very moment, right? We're sitting at the edge of, if not already balls deep in, I believe we're balls deep, but I believe we're already in World War III, and a lot of World War III is a race to some sort of domination. That's the word. So, Congo, for instance, is facing humanitarian crisis because of resource extraction of cobalt. Cobalt is needed for all of Elon Musk's projects, from Tesla to SpaceX to AI. I don't really know a lot about. I don't spend my time worried about billionaires at all. But it's kind of hard to avoid at most part. So cobalt, Sudan is also facing a humanitarian crisis because of their gold. The gold is being extracted using slave labor of the local people, and being sent to the United Arab Emirates. Now, Elon Musk is not the only person benefiting and using cobalt from Congo. Rape is being used as a weapon in both of those places. Torture, right? The continued colonization of Africa, not even just Africa, right? So then we go a little bit farther north and we look to the Middle East, and then we see more oil, right? Gaza is a lot about oil, and also the coastal land, and also the Greater Israel Project, and also I believe that a lot of what we're seeing in regards to this global domination and resource extraction, these, before the constant war, we talked about global logistics. All of these things are connected, which is why it's all a part of the decolonizing consumerism process. Because as consumers, we are blindly, for the most part, I mean, yes, you can research, but you're still obligated to participate to a certain degree within this society. Now, you have your choice of product, you have your choice of company, you have your choice of, but all of us have a smartphone that runs on Cobalt. So the people of Congo who don't have cell phones to share, yes, there are people in Congo sharing. Papi Orion is one of them. Follow him on Instagram and TikTok. He's on the ground and shares a lot about the struggles in Congo. And then from his page, you can go find other people. There's Focus Congo. And you can start to learn about what's happening, right? If you so choose. Most people don't want to know. But resource extraction it's a few things. It's a tool for dominance. It's a tool for control. It's a means to greed, right? It's a means to money. It's a means to force war or control over land, people, resources, right? So I was just in the shower and I was thinking about, I was reading a message board today about the war and about someone saying like America has oil, and I'm like, yeah, the removal of protections for the national parks is another pipeline to resource extraction. There's a reason Trump wants what's in that land. They are aware that there are things that they can capitalize on there. Thinking about all of the pipelines and all of the oil companies that have been going on tribal lands and have been, or native land, well, both, and have been going against treaties. I mean, that's serving as a part of MMIW, which is missing and murdered indigenous women. It's not just women, it's children and men as well. But the population in which indigenous women to the Americas are going missing, there's a parallel to these oil companies or these contracting companies that are there doing resource extraction, right? To the women going missing, right? They're called men's camps. And there's tons of data on this. So not only is resource extraction about natural resources, about turning those into product, right, eventually. So the cobalt serves as a piece of the battery in like our solar. Now I do have a whole segment about even green on this decolonizing consumerism where I want to go into that deeper, but I do want to mention it here because I think it's important to think about it's important to think about where things come from and who played a part in you receiving that thing, and that's, as consumers, we can make better choices. That's part of the decolonizing consumerism process, is being educated enough to understand your own impact in the decisions that you make, and how that has a domino effect on everyone in the world, right? Jesus. I'm so frustrated when living around selfish people. But I think, people, I have a lot of conversations and everyone's like, oh, it's just our society. I fucking hate that. I don't want a society to be based on this, but it, again, It's that saying that a lot of us grew up with, right? Do as I say, not as I do. These billionaires and these corporations and these fucking psychos, they are the resource extraction that they're doing. I mean, they're taking everything from us, our souls, right? Our willingness to want to do anything, our ability to and capacity to even be, in community. They've taken everything. They've taken our time, they've taken our freedom, they've taken our money, they've taken our communities and our friendships and relationships. I mean, the resource extraction is not just tangible items. It's literally this entire system runs off. I love this song. I love Rancid. This entire system runs off of the constant need for more. And with that constant need for more, right, especially as Americans, we live in this consumer-driven... Oh, that's from, Consumer-Driven Lives. That's from, 10 Things I Hate About You. Anyway, so, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it except what I already said about how when you're more educated, when you understand where things come from, like I bought my laptop and Niall's laptop refurbished because that's one of the requests of people who are on the ground in Congo, is to not buy new tech equipment, to buy things that are already, in existence. Because if more of us buy refurbished, the need for them to keep doing that will hopefully lessen. And again, it's this whole conversation around the masses and our ability to really, what is this word? Mobilize within solidarity, right? So, like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but one of my close comrades is a user of ChatGPT and like uses AI all the time, and I'm like, that's so fucked up because it's counterproductive to the cause. Like, it's like you're supporting and fighting for one, or like maybe you have all these Apple products. Like I have a cousin that works for Apple. I think the last I heard, I don't talk to anyone in my family, but I just heard today that Apple was they were doing something with Trump. They're funding... Oh, no, what they're doing is they're removing cities in Lebanon on Apple Maps. And so that's, so I have this cousin who used to work in the public sphere, right? Used to work for, like, the public transportation in Chicago, did a lot of, like, political, left political stuff. And now they work for a private company. Not any private company, fucking Apple. Right? They have a child who's disabled, and they chose that for themselves. So, the point I'm making is I'm not trying to blame my comrade or my cousin for those decisions that they've made, and the impact that they're having, right? They're not the entire problem, but they are actively feeding, are part of these systems, right? I've been really enjoying the Lego propaganda coming out of Iran. Propaganda, I think that's a harsh word. I think it's more like, I don't know, I think it's fact. I think they're trying to get the truth out because they know we're censored. But, and they're showing it in that form. But I've been really enjoying those, and they're AI, right? It's not, this isn't a conversation to, like, guilt trip you into being like, I can't buy anything ever. I went through a phase like that in my 20s where I was just like, I told you guys a lot about it. Like, I carried that piece of paper in my wallet that says, live simply so others can simply live, which is something that I really, really try to embody. But I also just bought all of Niall's stuff on Amazon because it's the most convenient thing, right? We are constantly having to make decisions that go against others, and that's part of the way that this system runs. It's part of the way that it works. It's done on purpose. They've monopolized so much that regardless of how we feel about something or our consciousness, and that's another part of the resource extraction. They've possessed us into having to, go against each other, right? I think there's this place that we can get to where we are aware of our decisions, but we have to, a part of this is integrating our shadow. We have to have a few ego deaths, and we have to integrate our shadow, and we have to forgive ourselves for our forced participation in this. We have to, at that point, choose to do better, right? We know better, we do better. Once we have the information that can help us change our mind or become aware of our impact at a greater scale, then from there we can make more localized, not individualized in a bad way. Like, I chose this year to really try, I know my eczema is spreading, it's whatever. I chose to try to grasp my means of production. So I bought a heat press machine, I bought a laser engraver, I just got Nile a 3D printer, I bought a Cricut. I have this printer maker, so I don't have to go to the post office all the time. I invested in technology that I'm sure the creation of those pieces have all had other impacts, right? If we think about consumerism in this way, I don't want you to go crazy. I don't want you to, like, I don't know. It's just, there's such a fine line here to navigate our own participation in this, and part of the decolonizing process is to acknowledge when we haven't made very sustainable or informed decisions about our consumerism, about our consuming. And again, when we know better, we do better, right? It's a very fine line. So I hope this helps. Resource extraction is always happening. I think that being here in the belly of the beast, it's pretty easy to see how... I don't think I ever finished that part about Gaza either. I think Israel and the United States want to control the trade routes on the entire planet. That's what I think. And that's kind of what we're seeing. They did it, the naming, I've mentioned this before, and it was probably in the global logistics, but I'm not sure, maybe, I don't know. But they, it's a pattern that I'm seeing, is that they are, so the Panama Canal, I think Trump occupied that, I don't know whatever happened there, but the naming of the Gulf of Mexico, renaming of that, I also saw that Apple, or maybe it was Google, I think Mexico is suing Google because Google changed the name. And that's the same thing that's happening with Apple, deleting the cities of Lebanon as Israel is bombing them. So it's important to, I guess, the better thing to do than to, like, really harp on yourself about the things that you have or the things that you want is to look at the relationship between CEOs or big donors, or the way that if you're choosing to, part of decolonizing is like getting insane amounts of information and then being able to critically think about it, and then from that point of being able to critically think and also hold yourself accountable by having a couple ego deaths and integrating your shadow. I mean, this is a huge process. It's not just like they are digging net slave labor, right? There's so much more to it, including our own impact and the benefit that we all have because of those things. I don't know if I finished a thought. Probably not. Oh, Gaza. There's a ton of oil off of Gaza, but there's also been this line through Gaza that the earth has been cracking. And it's been consistently growing for the years that the genocide has been happening. And now with the Strait of Hormuz, and also Yemen, with the Yemen closed their strait. I don't know whatever happened there, but all the shipping containers and boats were having to go all the way around the Horn of Africa's on the east coast. The South Africa and they had to go all the way around instead of being able to go through. So it feels like, especially with the move that Trump just made today with the Strait of Hormuz, it's not the United States territory. Israel is a made-up state. It's an occupying force. The United States and Israel are both very, very young countries, so I'm kind of seeing all of this as like the annoying little sibling that like keeps poking you, or doing stupid shit. That's like how the world, I mean, of course it's definitely deeper than that. It's more threatening than that, right? But Iran is like over 2,000 years old, right? Like Israel is, I just mentioned this in the collective coffee. I was talking about a timeline. Israel is about 80 years old, and the United States is going to be 250, compared to, going up against a 2,000 plus year old civilization that has been planning for the United States to attack for at least a good 30-40 years. Absolutely ridiculous. If we were in the 90s, I would be saying a different word, but it's not politically correct anymore. So I don't know. I hope this helps you think about things differently. I've mentioned grocery stores before with the global logistics, I think. But resource extraction is, all products are made up of natural resources, right? I like to think about big pharma when I'm thinking about resource extraction. Chemical compounds, shit like that. Everything on the earth was provided to us by the earth. Like, we could survive just fine with only plants and animals because millions of people did it for millions of years prior to colonialization. Right? But now everything is being extracted, fought over, moved, transported, and humans are being used to do that. If we all just said, no, I don't want to do this, and we stopped participating. But that's going to take a lot of preparation because these systems have done this. Now, what I mentioned earlier that I said we'd get to is I want to talk about the warehouse fires. Because I don't see the warehouse fires as the people's movement. I see this as a very strategic attack on goods to usher in famine and lack, to kill people, right? One of the Rothschilds or the Rockefeller, I don't know, one of these motherfuckers said that 2025 and 2026, like, billions of people were gonna die. It's a eugenics plan. These motherfuckers want a technocratic world. Humans are a nuisance to these fuckers in charge, because we require things. So anyway, as that relates to resource extraction is, as all of these things have been extracted, the people have put in the labor, and then there's people burning everything. Maybe the first one was a guy who's really fed up, but as it's been a domino effect, not that many people are mad enough to do shit like that. This is strategic. The companies are going to claim insurance. And the products, ironically, I think they did it because I like to often think about what the white men at the table, the round table circle jerk, are talking about. I grew up in the white world, so it's pretty easy for me to think about how they think. And, it would be funny because of the toilet paper shortage of 2020, when all of this was really ramped up to like a global scale. It would be funny to start with a toilet paper warehouse. Right? And it would go up quick. A lot of people are bringing like skepticism about like the sprinkler systems, and I don't see this as a people's movement. I think everyone's really happy that they're burning, but like, this time next year, we're going to feel that, if not sooner, especially with the global logistics. So there's a few things happening. Again, a space of crisis is a space of opportunity, because as the Hopi prophecy states, you know, people are going to have to choose between one or two ways: this green life path or this dark, you know, like charcoaled path of despair. And we're at this crossroads right now. So with these warehouses going up, regardless of if it's the people's fighting back, which I truly don't think it is, or if it's these motherfuckers just trying to get rid of inventory to up the prices, you know, because they're feeding the supply and demand. With lack of product, they have to put the price up again. Prices have already gone up like 300% within like the past few years. Like, people are struggling. They want us to struggle. They want to introduce this idea of lack because it leads to easier control, and it leads to more desperation. And when desperation is a tactic, it's a tool for them, obviously. Alright, thanks for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and end this, and I'm gonna do an unschooling haul. I think my nails are probably dry. Pink. But yeah, what is the next topic? Oh, the myth of convenience. So we'll talk about that next time. I'll try not to be so elusive. I had to rearrange the house yesterday to make room for all of the homeschooling stuff, and the dogs decided to move outside, which is great, because they were really stressing me out inside. They only slept in here, but they, like, every time I wake up to pee, they want to go out to pee, and I'm like, they finally decided this is going to be their third night outside. So anyway, I got rid of one of the dog beds and reclaimed the beanbag, and then I brought in another table. I had like a whole bunch of shit stacked right here, so now this whole space is open. It's lovely. I'll show you. So we've got this big long table. I am gonna have to replace the tables for art space, but I haven't been setting up for art space because I'm really tired. I am like so exhausted. I'm so exhausted with just assholery, quite frankly, both locally and just at. My hope for humanity is weaning immensely. So that's not a space I really want to be in, but it's a reality. I think a lot of people what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Not enough. We're not doing enough. So some of us are trying to do too much too, like me. And I think that's the thing that's really frustrating me. Is like people aren't pulling their own, so I'm having to like, because it's just who I am in my character, and I'm being taken advantage of within that, but it's not going to change who I am. So that's something I'm navigating. But that has nothing to do with you guys, or this topic, really. I mean, it's a resource extraction of my energy. I needed this aha moment. Alright, I'm gonna do a unschooling haul, because that'll be fun. But think about things differently, and think about, think about making a few adjustments with your consumerism, ultimately. Have a good one.